I would just like to say this update did not even last 2 days. The only reason the game had content was because everyone was wiped. In other words, the wipe was the content. That's already the worst start you have for a game. Let's just talk about the map for a second, okay? So the only thing that I saw that they improved the map on was the graphics, and they improved the parkour. So like Infernal parkour, shit like that. Deep Root Cave is a little bit easier. Aside from that, the map is on questionable side grade or a downgrade in some aspects. Like this new caldera is really confusing for a new player. Personally, it took me a week to adjust to this new caldera, and on stream, I was being called Zoro and shit like that because I was spending multiple minutes finding my way around at a time. It was really bad. To solve this, you can just do what Deepoken did with the trackers on like the most important NPCs or like the shops around the town. That would help. Next up, we're talking about the Blades of the World. You remove the shopkeeper from Blades of the World, which was a huge downgrade and made it really inconvenient. Are you trying to waste our time, or do you just forget? Like, add back that seller in the Blades of the World that you can unlock through the ranking system. And that's all I have to say for the map. Let's move on to the progression. Alright, progression. What are they improving about progression? They removed the Bless 2 grind. If you don't know, that was an old system of gear where it was extremely rare and extremely grindy from bosses. I was glad they removed that overall. I believe it was a net positive that they replaced it with gear. But it did make the stats like provide you B2 level stats, which did make the game a little bit too easy in that regard. I will admit that. You also add like a soul point tracker. I'm not really sure how useful this guy is, but they did add a soul point tracker. So that's the pros that I would say that they add about progression, is the new gear system and stuff like that. The cons is that you guys only add a tutorial to the game after Eclipse shitted on it, and the tutorial is not very good because you stopped the tutorial where Eclipse wasn't able to find, which you guys need to make a tutorial probably cover more things like armor crafting, letting them know you can learn stuff from trainers and weapon sharding, blacksmith, stuff like that. Also, the nighttime is just really beginner unfriendly. The mobs have so much more HP, and a new player is not going to really know how to handle it unless they use a tutorial or like get some heavy help from like online to get knowledge in order to counter it. They're just like super unfriendly with like the goblins, for example, or whatnot. Yeah, I guess you could, in order to solve this, you could like make the nighttime counters like delayed further in levels, which I believe was already done. But even still, it's still like pretty difficult. So if you go into like Deep Root, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to encounter King Von and you're going to get wiped. Call of Thanasis. It's not very nice to prog. You're basically forced to alt farm for the fastest way to get soul absorb, because if you try to not alt farm, it's either really tedious or you're physically incapable of progging the Thanasis cult. You should really just get XP for just killing stuff. Come on, it's Thanasis. Let's move on to Echo Shard progression, which is endgame gatekeeping, as I like to call it, because in order to get Echo Shards, you need to kill MV. In order to kill MV, you need to join a party. But to join the party, they're only looking for min-max people, which would require Echo Shards from MV. So you physically cannot get into the progression that can get you min-max, because in order to get into that party, you already need to be min-max with Echo Shards, which means new players are forced to overpay or like use mutual servers for Echo Shards in the training server, which is why they are so ridiculously overpriced and ridiculously expensive, which makes completely no sense and is just very player unfriendly. To solve this, you can give Dorian 1 breakthrough point for beating it on the first time on each slot, and you can make Echo Shards a really rare drop from Arcaya and Seraphon, which you won't do, but you probably should. And then there's also the progression issue of not knowing what to start out as, or like what to do. So if you don't know to make a gold farming alt account or slot, you'll be way behind. If you start off support first and you don't have any soul points, you're fucked. And you're like progression wise, you'll be like super slow. So if you don't know those two things, you're already like super behind, and there's just so much more things that you just need to know that people just don't. That a lot of new people just don't. So that's the progression. Let's move on to bug lineage. I will also tie in false marketing and stuff like that into bug lineage. If you don't know, Nova Prime said a while back that Snake World reworked backend. He said that this would provide more security and not cause the old bugs. Was this true? It was completely fucking false. GG. A lot of the bugs before Dark and Light are still in this game despite the backend being reworked, by the way. So that was already false marketing. And then for security wise, that's also fucking false because the rollback dupe still works in this game. How do I know this? Because someone DM'd me saying that they got an offer for a Vainglorious Locket, and they offered clearly duped item. This was on week 1 of the update, by the way. There's no way someone could have gotten all those items in such a short amount of time. It's literally impossible. Look at the amount of fucking items that guy was literally trading. 80 void keys at least? What the fuck? And then let's move on. Let's move on to some other bugs, like the dupe bugs, like infinite shard duping and stuff like that. Well, I will go into the Discord server, which you guys don't read the suggestions or bugs. I'll go into the bugs channel and I'll show you that I can easily go there, find a bug that works, and use it to my advantage to get infinite wealth. Alright, so we're going to look in the Discord server again. And we scroll down to the 4th logged dupe bug that I just typed in dupe above. We're talking about the shard override bug. They give a very clear example. So you need to have 2 of the weapon, unequip and equip the one with shards, and then it will copy the weapon shards to the other weapon. Let's try this out. So we have 2 blank broadswords. We have 9 turns of executing. Let's just place 1. It crumbled. Okay. So that one also crumbled. Hold on. So once we apply this 1 shard, which we just did, so we just applied the one to the broadsword. So if I equip and unequip this broadsword with the shard, it should duplicate over to this broadsword. So let's equip and unequip it. As you can see, both broadswords have the same shard now, which means you can effectively dupe infinite shards. So anyone trading max weapons with fully sharded for clean weapon plus adds or just massive Temporis gem amounts, they're probably using this bug and abusing it for infinite wealth. So that's a fun fact. That's basically infinite shards. I could go on and on with this, but I already proved my point. I just used a bug. I just used a bug that was publicly reported to my advantage. So yeah. Okay, now that I just showed you that, you'll probably believe me about the Ice Trend weapon, the Ice Trend dupe that's been going on, like that game state. I don't have definite proof for it, but I have other DMs with people that sent me stuff related to it that makes me believe so. Because I've had people that personally have like 20 Vainglorious Lockets on like day 3 of the release, and that's like, what the fuck? There's no way you could achieve that outside of either exploiting or the Ice Trend weapon state. Let's stop being around the bush. The economy is dead. The game is not worth grinding more than you need to. That's why I've really just been only proccing enough to get all my stuff min-max and not going beyond that. There's no point in game, which is you'll always be surpassed by like some duper. There's no trade-offs in this game. In this game, the economy is dead, and that is that. Okay, now let's cover issues that are outside the game. The main one, which makes up 90% of the core issues that are going on right now, is the communication with devs. Basically, if you don't know, a lot of devs, except for like Matro, are in the game purely for money, which is whatever. You're getting paid, do your job. I really don't care. But it's different with Niall because he bought the game. He's now the new mascot. He's now the new owner. He has more responsibility than other devs to like communicate with the community and make sure their needs are being addressed, or like issues being addressed, which they aren't, by the way. The least you can do is at least talk to your testers, talk to your community more often. Like, I don't know, go to general, say what's up, what's something that really needs improving, what's a quality of life issue, what's something of quality of life that you really need in like the next 2 days, or like that'll be really helpful for the community. Just stuff that's just like easy slam dunks. You know how easy it is to make a simple quality of life changes that can make players happy. Like, you are squandering these opportunities through not communicating. It's also really annoying that only 2 or 3 people have direct lines of communication with you that I can personally like the battle server or testers can personally access. It makes it really hard to communicate with you overall. and I wish yeah, we were more able to just directly talk to you. So yeah. So also your HR is just way too much. Just talk more normally, please. um, and then like even like like the devs like they work pretty fast. I personally saw Drac, like he's a dev that's personally assigned to this game. He works pretty fast, but it seems to be mostly last second working, which causes a lot of bugs that happen. Um, this is a good segue into testers and balance servers. So the testers, they're complaining that they don't get enough time to test the updates, which fair enough. Most of the updates only had like 1 day or less to. I'll give them a benefit of the doubt. But the one time you had almost 3 days to like 2 days if you take the narrative that the conceptors were spitting out that the update was that weekend. Well, a weekend counts as Saturday, so 3 days still. We'll just cry about it. They still couldn't test it in time, and they're still disappointing. You asked for it 3 days, by the way. You failed to deliver, and now you want more time? You should have asked for more time to begin with. What the fuck? But that's more of a communication thing, because the devs, they don't really give them too much time, which I feel bad for the testers in that regard. But the testers can honestly have a lot to improve. They can have like a quota for testing. So like if there's an update, you get as long as you get like 3 or 5 days to test it, you can get just a quota for 1 hour. If you don't put in your hour, you're fired. If you it's a voluntary position. I understand that. That's why the requirement's really low. I had a lot of testers and community managers against me on this because they're exclaiming real IRL stuff. So if that's too much for you, you can just like step down. You don't need a position of power if you're not willing to take the responsibility and commitment that it comes with. But we all know you're trying to keep your power. That's all right. We know you're self-interested, but you don't have to hide that. Just admit it straight up. You're being weird, testers. Allegedly, Arcane was also rushed in like 2 weeks, like most of it. I had leaks from the Randu, or like that exit moderator, who like leaked the entire thing. Most of it was actually what the game currently added, except for like gears. So like the leak document that I'll be like scrolling on screen, it basically was like almost completely accurate, aside from a few things that got changed. And that was like a very long time ago, and you guys had like probably at least a few more months to work on it, and you barely added anything. So I'm going to assume that the allegations that you were working on it last second for Dark and Light are actually true. Let's get on with the balance and test server with the testers. People were curious about this because there's a lot of blame game. So what happened was the balance server was created. The testers did not have any say in it. They were pissed off, so they were being like somewhat hostile towards the balancers. Whatever, I get that. The balancer made a few bad decisions like Connoisseur, which got buffed, but it's getting buffed, and it's bugged right now. It's not taking a damage buff, so the hate is like more than it should have been. I understand why people hate it. That's fine. That's a mistake, obviously. But overall, we buffed a lot of classes that were like underwhelming. And overall, they were a net positive from when they first started out. Even if they were like buffed and then nerfed again, they are better than what they first started out as, which is a net positive for the game, which is a lot better, which is a lot more than but I'd say they did less than that. So your testers, you guys ratted each other out for just being an early player and not actually a tester. There's this poll I got permission to post that basically shows your true natures and your true colors. You guys can't even trust yourselves to actually do your jobs. You think everyone else is playing the game early. So get on with the next tester purge, guys. Get the fuck out. You guys are useless, and you are more competent than the last time, but you are not good enough still. So some solutions for testers. I gave them a quota, and you need to be more organized. I know that Roros was promoted to tester lead. Congratulations, Roros. You're going to have to do a better job like organizing them or forcing them to organize, and you need to take more action. Same goes with the devs. You need to take more actions, managing your testers and everyone. You need to be more proactive and like more strict. You guys act too much like a family, and that's what's getting your game killed from low quality. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you feel. It doesn't matter how you feel. The only thing that matters is how the game updates go. If they are good, then the people are happy. If they are bad, you are at fault, even if you aren't. Because at the end of the day, you own the game.